Welcome to Not Factory Approved. Sometimes things just get more complicated than they need to be. How you can run amok with compressors. I had one, and then I ended up with three. So here's the story. But I'll start with the biggest one first, which is actually the second one I got. Well, technically the third one. I had one, and then I ended up with three. So here's the story. But I'll start with the biggest one first, which is actually the second one I got. Well, technically the third one, since I already had one. But this was all in an effort to make the shop a little quieter because my wife has a pottery studio in my shop. Well, it's supposedly our shop. And she doesn't like it when the old compressor runs because it bangs and hammers and makes all sorts of noise. So I got this one, but this one came because I was trying to fix another one, and it goes crazy. So I'll show you what I did with this one to get it going. And it actually worked out a success in the end. I hate to give it all away, but it probably won't look like it's going to partway through this story. Thanks for watching. This thing is just full of surprises. Guy I bought it from said he had it under a tarp for 15 years because the electric motor went, and I'm pretty sure it was a 3-phase. And I mean, he obviously had it well protected because things aren't really rusty. So there's still cross-hatching. There is a score there, but I can just feel it with my fingernail. But there's still cross-hatching, which is amazing. So here is a 2-stage compressor. I have a big bore on the intake, and that puts it through, in this case, a cooler, that thing. And that sends it off to the second stage, which does the final compression to get it up higher. So that part's looking good. Here's the valves here. There's one in there, and I can't get the plugs out at the moment. This one's held with a screw, so an Allen head screw for those two, the intakes. So I will see what's going on there. It does get up to pressure. I've had it up to 120, but it's pretty slow getting up there. So I think it's not completely happy, and I can feel some exhaust coming back through the air filter. So both at this point are mediocre. And that one up there, I'm pretty sure needs some more some significant work, but we'll see, because it's pumping oil into the tank a little bit. Not a lot, but enough to be concerning. And there's pressure, some pressure in the crankcase as well. So I've got to look at that one. So it has always been a noisy compressor ever since new, and I did buy this one new. But maybe it's just me, but I think it's noisier than it used to be. And since I'm quite a bit older, you would think it should be getting quieter. But there we go. 3 compressors, and the project continues. This is the head off this compressor. You can see the remnants of gasket here. So here's the exhaust port. Here's the intake for the final stage. That's the small piston, as you can see. So this one was pretty grotty. I cleaned it. I'll show you what they look like. So here's the other one, which is the intake from the air cleaner and the big bore. So there's a cap, then there's a spring, then there's a flat plate. And the flat plate pops up like that. So I'll clean that, make sure it's got a good surface to it. You can see that's pretty grotty. Let's see what we got here for a lot of corrosion. There's some though. There's corrosion there, which is not good. Yeah, looks like it might leak all right. We'll see what I can do with that with emery cloth. I don't have a milling machine, which would be nice. Let's see if I can get that to seal. This one had a rough spot on it too, but I cleaned that off with the emery cloth, around 500 grit. So let's clean this one up, see if I can get it to seal. There it is, cleaned, sort of, but it's got a nice clean ridge for the valve to seat on, so I'll try and clean it up a little more, but the sealing edge is good, believe it or not. So there's a spring, and I've cleaned that surface as well. A bit more there to get rid of, but that's not where it seals on the outer edge. And let's put it back together. I didn't need heat to get this out, this one, but I did need a punch and a hammer, hitting it alternate sides, off and on. One side, then the other side. And this just sits in here, this valve. So I will pull that out and see how much cleaning it needs. This side has some kind of O-ring there, looks like, and that might be thrashed. So I'll have a look at that once I get it out. This is what the exhausts look like. You can see a seat down in there. Goes all the way around. Looks pretty good. No scoring or anything in it. Then this is just the weight of this valve for the exhaust. It sits down in there, just bounces up and down, no spring, just has some weight to it. And this goes on top of it to limit how high it can come up. So that was what I thought was an O-ring, just because it was all black and it seemed to be floating around in there where it shouldn't have been. And then that's the plug, which I have to clean up yet. I lied. There's a spring in there. So it would seem there's two things this does. So I guess I'm going to have to take the other one back out and clean it up. There should be a seal down in there. Has to be a seal in there somewhere. Otherwise it's just going to leak, I think. It's using the same seal. It's the other side. There it is. Sits on there. I've cleaned that already, but wasn't a little oily because I squirted oil in there to try and get them to seal better, but it seems all right. And then the spring and the cap and a copper seal right there. It's detachable. So I'm gonna have to take the other one back out, clean it, and clean this one, put it back in. So I bought this motor for the big compressor. I'll try not to show you the company name in case they get mad at me. It's one of those companies where you order it and you get a free cup of rice with it. It has some interesting translations. It also, they claim it's a counterclockwise or clockwise direction rotation, but they don't say how to accomplish that. So more adventures there. Let's see. Here's one for you. Number 6. Before starting pull action shaft, it should be flexible rotation, no friction and collisions. Running should be smooth and lightly, without stagnation and noise. If found a strange noise, overheating, burning smell, smoke, or slow speed of the phenomenon, should immediately turn off power, shut down inspection, repair it. There's a fly trying to get into the picture. Yeah, that makes some sense, I guess. Here's another one for you. Number 8. When the motors are not allowed backward in the slow, not frequent start, capacitor running motors cannot be long-term light load use. No idea about that one. And let's see. Number 10. Check whether the motor fastening is fastened. That's a good one. Here's one for changing rotation, I guess. Check whether the turn is right. If don't, then in accordance with the following methods of grafting, A, the introduction of three-phase line can be any swap. 2, B, any swap the main section of single-phase winding circumstances leading to side can help. Hang on, gotta answer a call. And I'll finish off with number 14. This series of motors using environment and conditions can be used in wet, dusty place, but should always pay attention to cleaning and inspection to prevent the extended dust, iron, and other foreign body broken motor interior. I think I know what they're trying to say. Anyway, I got a good laugh out of it. Not that my Mandarin or Cantonese, as the case may be, is any better. Certainly not. But it's just kind of funny, some of the stuff that gets translated and how. If you buy one of these motors, be warned. That diagram does not match that diagram. That actual. The pins are correctly located, but where the wires go is totally different. Some of them wrap in the image go that way, and they don't. And there's blue wires. There's no blue wires in this one. Line 1 and line 2 are correct. And then this is T2, which is not matched with their diagram. And this is T7. And as far as I can tell, those are the only ones they've ID'd, which is a big help. So I almost screwed it up because I went and just assumed that the one that they had on this side, I've changed them in the meantime, just so it's not as confusing. This wire went to that peg, which these are shorted, that's no problem. But do not assume the IDs of the wires just by location, because it's not true. So I backtracked. Fortunately now I can do it properly, now that I know which wire is which. Well, you never know with these Rice motors what you're going to get. Check inside, because that was right in there up against the windings. Not great. Can't even clean it out. So I blew it out, and that's the only piece that came out. We'll see what happens. The other thing is they insisted on the spec sheet that there was a 5/8 shaft. And when I got these inserts for the pulley, I bought a 5/8 and I thought, I better get a 7/8. So I bet you that shaft is bigger than 5/8. And there you have it, a 7/8 shaft. So I'd be running back to Edmonton, 70 clicks, if I didn't buy that. So you got to go in with your eyes open. Yes, the price was cheap. We'll see if it was worth it or not. Will it work, you ask? Well, I guess I wasn't tight. So why did the pulley come off, you might ask? Well, see, these are the pull holes. Turn it around, they're supposed to be here where there's no threads. So this has to go that way inside the pulley. Who's the idiot who did that? Go talk to him. Where's that mirror? Now, that's a little better. Pretty much ready to go. I've just got to hook up a reducer there and line. Of course, everything has to go into position over here. So I've got some reorganizing to do in this corner. Take that compressor down. And I'm going to extend the gauge with a 45-degree angle. I've got a drain pipe for it now, a cap. And it should be all set, in theory. One compressor in position. Everything's hooked up. This is the hour meter. Helps me keep track of the amount of time for the oil changes. It's a 110 meter or 120 volt meter. And this is a 230 volt setup, so it's across one part of the switch, one phase of the switch, and then going to ground. So that's 120 volts, 110, 120. I have to put tape around this yet to seal it, and this here as well as here, so it doesn't rub on the outlet box. There's no other way to get it in other than to clamp it with the clamp, and I didn't want to do that. Didn't seem like a great idea. So there it is. I have to finish the plumbing. The idea is that stands there, off on switch, regulator, and then the cabinet is here. Let's grab a door. Where is it? It comes out, doesn't hit, and that's going to stand up straight, of course. So I will have I've got the regulator and two water traps. One's a little bit bigger than the other. This is the outlet, which I will attach to the wall. So I got 110 and 220 out of there. I didn't want to go back to the corner because then it's blocked in. So it's the adapter I was using before for various stuff. Gauges on it. I welded casters onto it after much flinking around and trying to find an alternate way to do it so that they'd be removable, because these studs that mount them are too short for this. I just decided I'll weld it. What the heck? So I did that. Can always be cut off if I have to, in case the welder or the compressor ever has to be pulled out, which could happen from time to time. It's on casters. I don't have to get the crane to lift it out because it's heavy. And then I'll have the two welders here where the shelf is now. And then I'll reorganize that. The metal is going up here. And then I will have the press and the English wheel on that side. The English wheel can go by the fire extinguisher because it doesn't block it. Whereas the press will if I move it any further. Which is not what you want when you want to get a fire extinguisher. Ask me how I know. So there you go. Things are moving on. Boy, this has taken a lot longer than I expected. Of course, I wrecked my back, so that didn't help at all. Took it about 10 minutes, get up to 120. It's been sitting for about an hour now, and it's down to 110. So, still got some leaks to find. But it took it about 10 minutes to get up there, so I guess that's an improvement. Shouldn't be too bad. Takes over 5 minutes for my 30 gallon to get up to pressure, way over there. So I took the line out from on that shelf because now it's going to be metal storage and I don't want metal being pushed up against the line all the time. So if I'd been a thinker, and nobody ever accused me of that, I would have run that straight across, around the corner and down into the far airline with outlet, which is over here by the power tools. So I think I'm just going to run it around this shelf, and I may actually just change that, but I think I'll leave it the way it is actually, and just have it run around the shelf and go over top of the window. That way I have one over here and one over there, and for operating airline mostly, for blowing stuff out, and other than that, occasionally use of an air tool. So this is plumbed in. Put it at 45 degrees, try and keep the pipe away from the shelves and stuff. I was going to plumb everything in solid, but it just got too convoluted, too many fittings, too much Mickey mousing around. So it goes from 3/4 to 1/2 inch, and then I didn't want to drop right away to 1/2 inch pecks, but it's the easiest way to do it. And I've never had a problem with the air supply, so put it back the way it was, and then to run through. And unfortunately, the regulator is 3/8, so that's a reduction in the line. And then these are the fittings I had, which is back to 1/2 inch, and then to 1/2 inch pecks. And then I'll have this 1/2 inch line here coming around the shelf. Could swoop it back up, but I don't know. That just looks ugly. Okay, now to finish it off and find the leaks. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, or even notify, or any of the above, or all of the above. Thank you.